What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. We're back with another ranking video. So normally I either do the tier lists or the rankings. I was thinking of doing a tier list for this, but I actually possibly have something else in mind for that involving characters. But right now we're talking all 8 movies that we know are taking place in the DC Extended Universe, which some people are still calling DCEU, so I'm still calling it the DCEU. We don't necessarily know where all of these characters or stories are going and which ones will be left in, which ones are being taken out if Henry Cavill is coming back. We just don't know. But we're going to rank those films. So we're leaving out movies like A Joker. We're leaving out films obviously like the Dark Knight trilogy and focusing on everything in this particular universe. And this is all in honor of Birds of Prey. So I need you guys in the comments down below letting me know, what is your favorite movie in this crop of films? What is your least favorite? How did you feel about Birds of Prey? And as always, I mean, I don't even need to say this at this point, but just my opinion. So I'm going to like things that you guys don't like. I'm going to dislike things, vice versa. You know the drill. We've done it before. And even though, you know, there's always someone that's going, well, how you and your opinions. It's cool, man. I'm a big DC fan. Obviously, the character of Joker is one of my favorite movie characters, one of my favorite characters of all time. So I love talking DC. But unfortunately, we are going to have to start at the bottom with David Ayer's Suicide Squad coming in at the number 8 spot. And this really has not changed since I went back and rewatched the film. So the first time I watched it, I was like, you know, it's fine. My wife is still a huge fan of this movie. She mentioned it on my Birds of Prey review. I just, every time I go back and watch it, it's just the same old thing for me, and it continues to get worse. I think it's a mess of a film. I think it wants to be something, but just cannot quite obtain that because of the lackluster story, the odd character development within some of our core characters. I love Will Smith in this movie. Obviously, Margot Robbie. You know, Jared Leto's Joker, I just don't think he got enough time in this film. I think he could be good with time, but I don't think we're going to see him again. But within the movie, The Suicide Squad, there are so many things that fall flat or had potential to be better than they were. Are there moments? Absolutely. But the villains, the shaky, no. And unfortunately, in my number 7 spot is Justice League. I mean, if you would have asked 13-year-old Austin, you're going to get a Justice League movie, right? Is it going to be your favorite movie of all time? I would have said, heck yeah, because I was obsessed with Justice League, the animated series. I was obsessed with Justice League Unlimited. But the first scene in this film is that mustache, man. And from then, it just set the tone for what the rest of the film was. And like Suicide Squad, I actually think Justice League has some of the best moments of the entire universe, the span of these movies. I love the Flash and Superman race at the end. I love the majority of Superman's scenes. I'm curious to see, you know, what would have happened. I don't even want to get into the Snyder Cut stuff, but, you know, a lot of things within this film that had potential, but were not executed upon. I don't blame Joss Whedon. I blame the studio for just messing around with what this movie could have been and giving us what we got, which was one of the biggest bummers I've ever witnessed on the big screen. Next up is, and this is actually tough for me, because I don't hate Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, but it feels like the more movies that come out, the more that just kind of pile on top of it because of how disappointed I was in this movie. But once again, it's not a film that I look down upon in a major fashion, especially when you look at the extended cut, which I think is a lot better. It gives us a new aspect to Superman's story. It gives us brand new things. Now, it's been a while since I've watched this movie, and I told myself that I needed to go back and rewatch it for this list. Didn't have time to do that. It's unfortunate, but when you look at the films above it, you understand why they're above it, just because they bring us great individual stories. In terms of combining so many different comic book stories into one movie, I think it was a bit of a mess in that regard, and I do think some things within the third act just didn't work at all, and obviously the dialogue, and I won't even get into that as well, but overall, I mean, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the more I piece together certain things of what they were going for, the more I understand it. I just cannot cannot get to the point to where I say I really, really like the movie. We have come to the reason for making this video, Birds of Prey. I enjoyed Birds of Prey. And, I've seen a bit of backlash from the fans, some of them who have not seen the movie yet, but I've also seen a bit of backlash from people that have seen it, and that's okay. If it wasn't your cup of tea, that's fine. But I dug what I wasn't expecting in this film. And one, that's the R rating, and they pushed the boundaries everywhere they went. And two, it was the action, man. The John Wick / Deadpool style breaking the fourth wall characters, of course, but I still can't necessarily grasp onto the overarching story, certain character decisions. I was like, all right, and it is a bit cliched. It plays on these tropes, but at the end of the day, it kind of falls into some of the tropes. But all of those things pushed to the side, I still had a great time while watching it. It's one of the more entertaining DC movies. It's probably the most different out of all of these films. Nothing else like it, and that's always awesome. It's a really good time. And Margot Robbie amplifies, well, anything that she's in, but especially this film. The chemistry between the entire group, and Ewan McGregor chewing up his scenery like you have never seen it. Not a bad performance in the bunch. Next up for me is Aquaman. And I know this movie, more so than any of the other ones that I've already talked about, has a massive group of fans. And I'm a fan of this film. I gave it a good score. I like it. I think it's solid. I don't think it's great, and I know a lot of people think it's great, and I've been cursed out for not saying that, but I just can't quite get there because it is, it's a bit cheesy, it's a bit corny. There are a lot of cliches in this movie, a lot of cliches. But visually, I think it's spectacular. Still pissed off that the Oscars did not consider it. I think it is full of incredible music. I love the characters. I think Jason Momoa rocks this film. The action is so cool. James Wan brings an interesting style. I'm really excited for the next film. I do not love capital Love it, but I really, really enjoy it every time I watch it. And it's one of the more rewatchable DC movies. And that is definitely a plus. And I never in a million years would have imagined Shazam being at this spot on my list. So high. Man, this is a fun film. This is a fun, very different movie from something like Birds of Prey. And it's pretty incredible, right? You think about it. This universe, we're going to call it a universe still, right now has an R-rated, hardcore, gore-filled, violent, heavy cursing movie in Birds of Prey, a sci-fi fantasy epic that feels like it's in another world, even though it technically kind of is with Aquaman, a Batman versus Superman movie, and then a fun family-centric film in Shazam. That's what this film is. It's a family film with a nice coming-of-age story element to it and some great humor. It's just so different from everything else in this universe, and because of that, I was a bit hesitant going into it the first time, but I watched it. I was blown away with how much I enjoyed it, and then I watched it again, and I'm like, it may not be as great as I wanted it to be, feeling the concept of what a Shazam could be, but it still was a pretty great movie. I mean, I had a great time. I really, really enjoy this character. Zachary Levi is the best as Shazam, and I cannot wait to see him come back. They've already confirmed Shazam 2, and when he meets up with The Rock and Black Adam, man, oh my goodness, it's going to be great. But this movie in particular, it's rewatchable, and it's a lot of fun. So here's my one big issue with Wonder Woman, right? I think Wonder Woman is a great film that struggles a bit in the third act. I think the third act is clearly the weakest part of the film, and not the emotional storyline with Chris Pine's character. None of that. I thought all of that was absolutely brilliant. Some very well-directed scenes by Patty Jenkins. I just think it's the villain, right? They do the reveal, and everyone's expecting the reveal, and we all know it's going to happen. It's just like, ow, come on. And then the CGI, and you're just... Fine. We get that in all the superhero movies. Wonder Woman stands out because Wonder Woman is so epic, but tight-knit from an editing perspective, with this flair, this style from Patty Jenkins that you just don't get in your average superhero movie. And that's why Wonder Woman isn't average. You look at the trench scene and what it did for this character, but I mean, it's one of the most powerful scenes of any superhero film that year, and really one of the most powerful DC scenes of all time. And I love Gal Gadot as this character. I love her. I had no clue she was going to be this good. She showed me that in Wonder Woman. I was still kind of questioning her after Batman v Superman, but nah, she came out swinging in this film. She was so great. I love the mentality of this movie, what it stands for, what it goes for. And like I said, the only issue I have is the third act. I think the chemistry between Gal and Chris in this film, that is one of the reasons why I'm nervous that he's coming back for the sequel, but to see him back and to see these two on screen together, it's almost like you have to do it. I'm just interested to see the story. If they manage to top Wonder Woman, good luck with that. And here's the one that gets me every single time, and everybody's always like, Austin, why you putting Man of Steel up so high? I have to, man. I love this movie. And that wasn't the case the first time. And this is what rewatching a film does for you, and it's crazy how different I feel about some of these DC movies the second, the third, the fourth time around. Man of Steel is the prime example for me. Whenever someone asks me, Austin, do you change your score on rewatch? I normally go back to Man of Steel, and I use this as an example. When I first watched it, I said it was good, but that's it, right? It didn't do everything I wanted it to do. But sometimes you go into a movie with your own expectations. You have to kind of leave those at the door. And for Man of Steel, I didn't do that, so I was kind of disappointed. But the more I watch it, the more I get the vision, the more I see what Snyder was going for, the more I understand the mentality of this Superman, and the more I get on board with Henry Cavill as Superman. It's such a bummer for me that he's probably not coming back at this point, but I love him in this movie. I love this movie. The decisions in the third act, I've hit on it 1,000 times and not going to hit on it again. I'm all right with them. I think they work. I think the more I watch it, the more I understand the mentality of the director. And not everyone feels that way, and that's fine. A lot of it has to do with, who is your Superman? Well, for me, I'm a massive fan of Henry Cavill, and this movie is the reason why. So there you go, guys. That is my list of all of the DC movies. If you guys are interested in more things like this, if you like these rankings, if you like what I do with the tier lists, I'm thinking about doing something with DC characters. Let me know some recommendations down below. And smash that thumbs up button if you enjoy these videos. I'm doing superhero stuff. I'm doing Oscar coverage, Netflix reviews, all the things on this channel. And another Netflix review is coming after this video. I appreciate you guys for watching this. So much fun. Go check out my Birds of Prey review on this channel, along with a spoiler review on our YouTube show, Film Strippers. That is 3C Films NI. You guys the best. I will see you very soon.